hope you're having a great day and I hope you had a great weekend. Today I want to talk about an issue that plagues millions of people, from teenagers to young adults to even senior citizens. And a lot of people are living with this condition year after year. It doesn't have to be that way. What I'm talking about today is ulcerative colitis. What exactly is this? Can it go into remission? Absolutely yes. It's not really a disease that can be cured. It's a flare-up that can go into remission. If you do the right things, if you eat the right way, you move the right way, you think the right way, you sleep the right way, you eat the right foods, all of this can help it go into remission. And you can have flare-ups when you change your lifestyle and it starts to get bad all over again. But the point is, it always starts off with perception. The thing is, when I speak to ulcerative colitis patients from around the world, they've already set their mind to believe that nothing can ever be done. They got to be on painkillers, some of them on steroids sometimes, whenever there's a flare-up, and they believe that's what's going to be their life. But it doesn't have to be that way, because as I speak to you, there are hundreds and hundreds of people who no longer have ulcerative colitis. What does this mean? There's possibility, right? If nothing could be done, then everyone who had it would be suffering. So the first part of any healing journey or recovery journey starts with your perception. If you don't believe you can get better, it's not going to work. I don't have a magic diet, a magic vaccination, a magic pill for you. It doesn't exist. But the right lifestyle and understanding what exactly your condition is your first step to recovery. So what is ulcerative colitis? It's a kind of an IBD, that's an irritable bowel syndrome. It's a disease, and it can be a syndrome. Some people call it a disease. This happens in the large intestine of your body, the colon. So you start to have these cells that get inflamed on the inner lining and outer lining of your colon. They get inflamed, they die, and then they form ulcers. These ulcers can sometimes bleed. They can form other ulcers and polyps. They can form mucus and they can form pus, and that's when you have an infection and you need antibiotics as well, besides anti-inflammatories and steroids to control it. Now, what are some of the symptoms of ulcerative colitis and when should you get checked? You'll have abdominal pain, you will have rectal pain, you will have blood in your stools, you can have diarrhea, you can also have extreme constipation. And you need to understand that extreme constipation, if you do not look after that, can also lead to colitis. It is inflammation in your gut, in your large intestine, and all of this, that's where your fecal matter collects. So if you have a lot of stuck up fecal matter in your large intestine, if you suffer from constipation, you don't poop on time, you tend to hold in poop for a longer time, or you poop but you feel like you've not completely evacuated. All of this can also lead to that. You can have fever, you can have malnutrition, malabsorption. Whenever there's a problem with the gut, you don't absorb most of the nutrients that you eat from your food. So a lot of people say, Luke, I'm eating organic food, I'm eating healthy food, but my levels are low. I have micro deficiencies. I have low levels of magnesium, selenium, iron, D3, B12, and all of these issues. Because if you have a problem with your gut, remember, it's not just about digesting food. It's about the absorption of food as well. So these are some of the symptoms that you have. You can also have joint pain. You can have constant mouth sores. You can have swelling in the joints as well, and a lot of skin problems and even eye inflammation. So you see, all of these problems together are some of the symptoms. Now, if you have one or two symptoms, you don't have to get worried, but you correlate it. And if you have these symptoms, it's better to go to your doctor and get checked up. Your doctor may advise you a stool test, sometimes a CT scan, sometimes certain blood tests that can help you determine that there is inflammation. There are also questions to ask yourself. Do you suffer from IBS? Do you have loose motions all the time? Or the opposite, are you chronically constipated? And then you can correlate it with some of the symptoms that you have and figure it out. Ulcerative colitis is sometimes categorized as an autoimmune condition. It is believed in this condition scientifically that your own immune system is attacking you. And that's why you have this inflammation in your gut. It can be genetic. We've seen this when there's a lot of UC, which is ulcerative colitis in the family, parents. It can sometimes be genetic in nature. And of course, bacterial infections and viral infections. And that's why I always tell people, do not self-medicate. And if you have a food poisoning, if you have a stomach ache, you have a stomach bug, and your doctor's given you a course of antibiotics, please finish the entire course. What happens is sometimes you're given a 3-day course or a 5-day course. Day 1 of the course, you start to feel better. So you stop the antibiotics. But in most cases, you've not killed the bacteria completely. And this bacteria tends to live in your gut, creating more inflammation and more problems. In fact, the last couple of 50 to 100 cases that we saw this year itself on ulcerative colitis, most of them had stopped their antibiotic courses during several bouts of food poisoning. So what happens is the bacteria, if not fully killed, will cause immense inflammation in your gut, and that's another reason you have it. Another reason, we have a lot of students who travel from India to the US and to different countries, and their diets completely change to the Western diet, where they're having a lot of white flour, white sugar, junk food, processed food, and that strips the good bacteria from your gut, making digestion more difficult and leading to inflammation. Of course, a lot of students, as well as adults, don't even know that they're intolerant to gluten or to lactose. So they don't learn to live with these problems. What are some of the symptoms when you're lactose intolerant or gluten intolerant? You can have bloating, you can have constipation, you can have loose motions, you can have acidity. But a lot of people who don't want to correct the problem, they just keep taking antacids or they take anti-bloat concoctions that make them feel better. But that's symptomatically. The root cause of the problem still exists. And if it goes untreated, it can become an ulcerative colitis. So the whole point is to understand that your food plays a huge role. So let's move straight into solution mode. What do you do if you have ulcerative colitis? Like I said, it's classified as an autoimmune condition. So what can affect it? Chronic stress. We have so many patients who are in remission, but the moment they get stressed, chronically stressed, they have a flare-up of the UC again. Sleep deprivation, because inflammation gets better when you sleep. You're sleep deprived, you have more inflammation. Correcting your gut issues. So if you have acidity, bloating, constipation, loose motions, it is imperative to correct these issues. Last night, I talked a lot about constipation, and about 7 years ago, I made a video on talking about commonalities in cancer, and I listed constipation as one of them. And we had a lot of doctors reach out to us saying, Luke, what's your connection with constipation and cancer? And it's interesting to know that while there's science that already exists, yesterday, one of the leading institutes in India, which is SVIASA, that has PhD doctors that teach yoga and use yoga as medicine, they have shown us the correlation between constipation, cancer, and probably every disease. You know, I've always told people, and even doctors, you know, on stages across the world, it's common sense. While there's science, you know, you can spend a lifetime trying to figure out if constipation can lead to disease. I said, just think about this for a minute. We're meant to poop out all of the poop in our system. Poop is toxic. It's not meant to be in the system for a long time. That's why it smells, that's why it's got bacteria, it's got all of that stuff. The longer you keep poop in you, the more problems it's creating. That's all the common sense and wisdom that we need. And of course, then there's science of how it creates inflammation in the gut lining. But a lot of people today need to be convinced by science that constipation creates diseases. And yes, constipation is linked with most cancers today. So the point is, if you have constipation, fix it. It's like you have a blocked exit in your body. If I put you into a stadium and there are 9 fire exits, okay, and the stadium is full of people, even if one exit is blocked during a fire, a lot of people are going to die. 9 exits have to be open for people to exit. The same thing with the human body. If you have a block in any of your detoxification organs, you have a problem with your lungs, your skin, your kidney, your liver, and your colon, you have a huge problem. You're accumulating toxins and keeping it in the body longer than it's needed. Anything toxic, would you take a pile of poop and leave it in the corner of your bedroom? You may sleep with it 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights. What's going to happen after that, right? You get the point. Constipation is not okay. You need to fix it. And there are various ways to fix it. Various ways. Sometimes you'll have to use medication. People who have gone through certain surgeries, people who have been on laxatives all their life and now their system's gotten so used to it, may need the assistance of supplements and laxatives. But for everyone else, it is purely your lifestyle. So constipation is something huge that you need to fix if you have ulcerative colitis. Okay, then we come into, yes, gluten and dairy, or any inflammatory food. So sometimes you may do a food allergy test and you may find that the food I'm eating all my life, I'm now allergic to it because you have a weak gut. You may have to eliminate that until your gut gets stronger. And it's not about just elimination. If you want to really put your ulcerative colitis into remission, while you eliminate these foods, parallelly, you got to rebuild the gut. So your prebiotics, your probiotics, whether it's from supplements or food, always try to do it naturally with food first. Sometimes you will need supplements and then make sure it's a quality supplement. So we look at foods. We look at the amount of fiber we have. If you are an ulcerative colitis patient with a lot of pain, fiber could be your biggest enemy. I'm talking about slow digesting fiber. But when you have built your gut and you're in remission, fiber will actually become your best friend. So you can't just go on pumping yourself with insoluble and soluble fiber. You will actually aggravate the condition. So you use fiber in very, very small amounts, probably from fruit fiber, certain vegetables. There's a way to cook certain foods, soak certain foods, like your lentils, like your legumes. You can use asafoetida to cook certain foods, which will further make it easier for your gut to break down. So there are many, many things that you can do from a point of nutrition. Exercise is great for you. The more blood that reaches your colon, the better it is. When you're sedentary, you have problems. When you overtrain, you have problems. We already covered sleep, and you know the impact of chronic stress on your gut. It's there in science, it's there in medicine. The more chronically stressed you are, the weaker your gut is, which means you can become vulnerable to all of these conditions. So these are some of the things that you need to look at when you're trying to fix this. Look at your symptoms. There are also great supplements, but I don't look at supplements first. I look at the extract that the supplement is used. Where does it come from? Bromelain is found in pineapple, and it is excellent for repairing the gut, especially when you have ulcerative colitis. So is boswellia. Turmeric, curcumin, you can add that to the foods that you eat. Psyllium husk, and of course your prebiotics and your probiotics. So there is so much you can do. The point is, you don't have to believe that you got to live with this. You do not. There are a lot of people who have UC, but they go on smoking and drinking. You're not going to get better. Then you need your constant medication and your antacids and your steroids because you're not taking the burden of your gut. So if you want to really heal and get into remission, you can do it with lifestyle. It is not permanent. If it was permanent, there wouldn't be people getting better. I always look for possibility. The way I like to inspire people is, including my cancer patients, is there is no magic drug to fix you. But look at all the people who are in remission. What does that show you? Possibility. Possibility gives you hope. Hope gives you the inspiration to find out what is the right path that I need to take to put my condition into remission. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, breathe deep, and remember, you care is all about you. And remember, bio-individuality and uniqueness. What works for someone else doesn't have to work for you. It does not have to work for you. The worst thing for an ulcerative colitis patient is milk, gluten, and of course any foods that you may be allergic. This doesn't mean you have to be off milk and gluten forever unless you're intolerant to it, unless you're celiac or you're lactose intolerant. While you get better into remission and your gut gets stronger, you can slowly reintroduce these foods. You got to be careful of junk food because it's stripped of fiber, white sugar, white flour. You have a piece of white bread, you will have a flare-up. And you will damage your gut further. So we need to understand ulcerative colitis that is not treated and not managed the right way can lead to colorectal cancers. So the point is, you want to take care of the condition that you have. Better still, prevention by looking after your overall gut and your lifestyle. Have a great day, everyone.